Good evening. Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Joel Whitney. It's a pleasure to welcome you all to tonight's Indigenous Poetry Series reading with Laura Tohi and Max Early. They're going to be reading from their work, and there'll be a little time at the end as well for questions from you all. This is the final entry in a series that has gone through the first half of this year, and it's been generously funded by the Poetry Foundation. We thank them for this. And we're excited to have this record because we stream these and we record these and go back and watch them, and I hope people will. BPL Presents is the arts and culture presenting department here at Brooklyn Public Library, which is Lenapehoking, the land of the Lenape people. And we just finished a beautiful exhibition curated by our friends in the Lenape Center in Manhattan, who are enrolled members of the Delaware Tribe of Nations, Bartle Tribe of Indians, rather, in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. And keep in touch with us because we're also finishing an anthology where our friends and comrades at the Lenape Center, scholars from the Delaware Tribe and elsewhere, allies, etc., tell the story of the Lenape, the first people in New York City and much of the Northeast and tri-state area. And to keep up with us, you can follow us on social media at BPL Presents and on our web calendar, which is bklynlibrary.org/BPL Presents. I'm going to introduce both of our wonderful readers together, and then they will go one after the other. They'll read around 20 or so minutes each, starting with Max Early. And as I say, if you have questions for them at the end, we're glad to entertain them. Max Early, Laguna Pueblo, is a 2022 inaugural INAPO Fellow and a recent MFA graduate from the Institute of American Indian Arts. His poems are published in Inkwell Journal and forthcoming from Poetry Northwest and Zocalo Public Square. His first poetry collection is Ears of Corn, Listen, 3 at Taos Press. As the publisher, he has received fellowships from Writing by Writers, Orion in the Wilderness, SAR's Indigenous Writer, and Taos Summer Writers Conference. His clans are Sinahanu, Turkey people, and Kwaya Wache, Child of the Bear. Early lives in the village of Paguate, Mexico. And followed by that, we'll have Laura Tohi, Dene, and the current Navajo Nation Poet Laureate. She's Sleepy Rock People Clan and born for the Bitterwater People Clan. She published 3 books of poetry, an anthology of Native women's writing, and an oral history on the Navajo Code Talkers. Her librettos Enemy Slayer, a Navajo oratorio, and Nahatasan in the Glittering World, performed in Arizona and France, respectively. Among her awards are the 2020 Academy of American Poetry Fellowship, the 2019 American Indian Festival of Writers Award, and twice nominated for a Pushcart Prize. She is Professor Emerita with distinction from Arizona State University. Please welcome Max first, and then Laura after.
Goatsi Saihopa. Hello, everyone. I wanted to start my reading off today with some of my new poems, so I'll get started right away. The first poem I'd like to read is called Passing Through the Heart of Old Laguna. Place your ear to the ground. Hear the Americanas approaching. Laguna Pueblo adage. She transcends our reservation land with eminent domain. From Chicago, Illinois to Santa Monica, California, her roads majority rests within Indian country. 66 right-of-way carves through heart of Laguna Pueblo, paved over pottery shards and arrowheads concealed. From Los Lunas, she enters our eastern Pueblo border, New bridges over Rio Puerco, Rio San Juan to El Rito and Mesita Village, Hatzach. The Atchison, Topeka, and the Santa Fe bisect our countryside. Greet dominion with commerce, a sovereign nation's only resort. New trade goods and trademarks. Laguna ladies selling pottery by the roadside. Twists and turns on age-old native trail. 180-degree bend brought deadly fame, doomed dead man's curve. She reveals ancient landmarks as sightseers gaze at massive rock formations west of Mesita. Roadrunner and Owl Rock, Shashka and Cucuyoni. Uphill, O Laguna Village, Coake. San Jose de Laguna Mission Church, completed in 1699, prominent landmark of the first foreign invaders. Bygone days, New Laguna's train depot, the red metal flag at Parahi Trading Post pulls out to signal the Greyhound bus. Nostalgic Mother Road, thoroughfare. Laguna Pueblo commemorates her service by designating our franchise Route 66 Casino and Hotel. Historic highway oasis for exhausted motorists. So everybody come over to our casino when you're stopping by when you're tired. This next poem I like to read, I wrote, it's about the pandemic. It's called Influx, Reservation Lockdown. Turquoise skies, blindfold horizon, black sash belt morning. Half-filled coffee cup with cream. Pool stick lingers by bar stool. Cascading stacks of eggshells crackle on cedar in smoking firebox. She pinches clay finger bowls, painted cloud designer dreams. Coyote's ruling class, finger points till arm goes numb. Now arriving at herbal OSHA bombs, airplanes touch down on stained glass. Red-eye flight on Tiffany runway, pilot shakes, moccasin rattle. Jingle dress dancers revive health through aisles of canceled powwows. Distant squash blossom phone calls from shooting star ribbon elders wearing coral silver bead necklaces. They string bows with damp suet. Dove plumes flutter on warm breeze. A cellular prayer without towers. He tosses corn husks over bridge by floating eagle carcass. Waterfall trickles through driftwood, skeletons of cholla cactus. Arroyo Creek walls, what stifles the laughter of an enemy. Pottery shards crushed to sand. Baby blanket sifts uranium bones. Village of dayrise and sunset framed in a field of tall wheat. Windows of abandoned bodies. Ladder electric ventilators. His concealed rest departs the dweller. My next poem is I'm going to read out of my first book of poetry called Ears of Corn Listen. And the poem is called In the Black Blue Hue of Sunrise Dawn. In the black blue hue of sunrise dawn, Mother Fire keeps me warm. I pray and breathe on the dry flowers, an offering to the deer spirit. Consumed by the flame, my prayer goes up in smoke. rainbow full of colors for the deer to see. They say, Mu puksh pishchatsi gayanye shro ekushe. Look at the beautiful rainbow. Let's go over there. Climbing the hill in pursuit, fresh deer tracks everywhere. Directly in front of me, Gait Bijru, the rays of sunrise glisten on the antlers. We have found the rainbow. Now it's time to go home. Home to the mountain lion, singing hunting songs of praise, tribute and honor to the deer. Corn pollen prayers scatter in the wind. Bless us again, dear spirit. This next poem is in Inkwell Journal, and it commemorates the time I used to go deer hunting with my grandparents when I was a teenager until the last time they couldn't go anymore. This is called Hoofs Drifting Across Grass. November night in small town Cuba, warm cabin in lieu of chilly canvas. Bedroll laid out. I sleep below my grandparents' motel bed. A sudden 3 a.m. request. Tro'o, let's go, she says. I sip coffee and scurry by the kitchenette stove. Grandpa's warming up the truck. On high desert pinon cedar hills, our campfire in deep beaming woods, bacon, eggs, and bread on the flame, Grandma's fried red chili flakes. Sunrise ashes bless our rifles. Guide us, mountain lion man, and the mountain lion within me. Track fearless with patient pursuit. Mid-morning, bedded down in gray leaf, briar, a leaping gant of does hurtle through a thick sagebrush draw as fog drifts on thin forest air. My index finger points, but Grandma corrects me with her pointed thumb. My head nods. I use my thumb to shorten the distance between hunter and game. Afternoon, we ride hills after hills across arroyos and valley clearings to the place I caught my deer the previous open season. I hike to an overlooking mesa top. Grandpa looks down to the dry creek. Close by the truck, Grandma prowls with a red scarf over her head. I scout towards a large oak grove as quick sounds of leaves crush and crunch. I crouch down, my eyes focus on swift hoofs drifting across the grass. My head turns, I hear, woo! I sprint towards the mesa's cliff ledge. Grandma's hands raised sideways by her ears. She yells, Mame wakacha she tuk doewa. She peels an orange while her rifle leans on a rock. The buck runs to the mesa bottom and pauses within Grandma's range. She grabs her gun, her finger pulls the trigger, the rifle clicks and jams as the mule's deer's ears twitch. The buck bolts off like a field missile. She lowers her one chance, wishing. We return to Grandpa's faded maroon truck. Grandma sighs and says, Kaika, Kaika, all the way home, Kaika. Grandpa tells her, you're always saying, Iu'u Gushanuts. It's cold, I'm cold. That's why you didn't catch your deer. The following year, my grandparents both said it was too cold for them to go hunting. I brought back a buck for Grandma Linda and cherished the last time we were together. The next poem I'd like to read is called Sky Island. I wrote it while I was in Portal, Arizona at a poetry retreat, and I was worried about my mom. And this poem She wouldn't answer her phone. This poem emerged from the time I was there. Sky Island. Why didn't she write a will? Gila monster, hissing ants, tossing 2 cubed granite crystals coated with mud tracks. Eldest sister of Turkey clan, a ceremonial coiling of clay. We're migrating, soaring towards a sky island. She lifts his black braids on pine sap, streaming in rainstorm, wailing. She ties 4 white duck feathers and forms them into a lightning bolt. Flashing through sea deserts in the hail, they trail a deer to levitate a new song. Green yucca, what is it like to paint a mask? He plants her before spring thaw, wrapped in a Pendleton blanket. His sorrow sinks the earth. I'll go ahead and read another poem from Ears of Corn Listen. This poem is called Matrilineal Winter. Traditionally at Laguna, the house is given to the oldest daughter. At Acoma, the house is given to the youngest daughter. The house belonged to Grandma Marie, given to her oldest daughter, Jane. Soon, Jane gave Sister Clara the family home. 3 sisters in their winter share their mother's house. They are Orion's belt, wintry sister stars. 3 stars softly fading, reminisce festal shadows. Mom's chili stew cooking, 7-Up in the Frigidaire. 3 sisters embrace home, but not like they used to. Keep moving around, more aches flare. What do we do with your house, Mom? We feel bad that you're getting old. We'll help you when we can. We miss the old Jew. Serious oldest daughter, humorous middle girl, cheerful youngest baby, wintry sister stars. The next poem, I speak about the grinding stones and how they used to be used every day in the homes, and just more or less giving honor to the grinding stones and how they were and are still used to this day in our communities. Ingrained. Only once at dawn I unearthed a grinding stone buried on a dirt roof by the old horse corrals. She sang Yaana clan songs when there were those songs. At the field barren and full of tumbleweeds, the land parched as potted polenta or peeling paint. Her skin was black lava, her hair shelled white corn, her body curved like a half-moon crescent. Her face, rounded smooth, had thinned from where, like sand, the oceans washed ashore in the rise and fall of tide. A Hawaiian black sand beach, the flavor of salt woman, and red seaweed and slender green, an heirloom seed planted on a warm mid-autumn day, sprouting, then fading as songs wither into stillness, or bushes of sumac berries in the abandoned field. Red fruit the deer devour, tart and tangy like hibiscus lemon tea. A mist arises when the stone recalls the clan woman's voices. Singing her songs, she remembers the rhythmic milling sounds of mano and matate. She yearns for cornmeal or wheat flour. infusing her porous thoughts. She cherishes the last song sung to her. She hums forgotten tones. I lift her up and say, come home with me, rest in Cusco's garden, sing with me. I'm also a potter from my pueblo, and there'll be times where I have a piece of pottery that's been sitting on the shelf too long and the dust starts accumulating. And so I look on my shelf and say, okay, now it's your turn to come to life. There'll be just a few clay pieces that I have. So this piece is called Earthen Desires. A lint-covered clay vessel hides inside the china cabinet, anxious for her slipwear. Potter's hands lift her out. His breath, a rush of wind, frees her from dirt and inertia. Warm, slick riverstone lines, hand caresses, burnish sway, the potter's gradual pace. On her clay skin, painted stars and lightning constellations, like a tan body tattooed, with red-winged blackbirds soaring the amorous night sky on a backdrop of moonlit cloud. She anticipates her pit firing, posing on pottery shards, a sheen ceramic vase. This next poem that I'll read, I was in school at the time at IIA, my truck broke down, and my friend Kathleen Wall asked me to go to her birthday party in Albuquerque. And so I wrote a poem wishing that I could be there at her birthday party. So this poem is called Bessie's Transmission for Kathleen Wall. If only we had lit up the candles on your cake. If only I could hear your party of mud song. If only I had a cheerful toast to let this bliss dashboard like a bluebird. If only we weren't in the fall kiss of your water-clad summer. If only we didn't have to dry our clay pots and never sand away. If only Mama Fanny could still braid your pigtails tighter than tight. If only we could finish a pottery mask that whispers global warming. If only your clay clowns could text and eat watermelon at the same time. If only I could hear you sing, "Happy birthday, Mr. President," and shout, "Impeach, impeach, impeach," while impersonating Marilyn Monroe standing above a subway vent. If only you had shouted, "Isn't it delicious?" If only you had taught me to make Hamas enchiladas. If only you could be next year's native treasure. If only the transmission wasn't in the shop. If only roads could diffuse the distance, we could have danced even after the crowd left. If only I could have wished you a long life and drove back to Laguna with a bluebird behind the wheel. I'd like to go ahead and finish up with my last poem. We're praying for rain here in the Southwest, and there's supposed to be a monsoon kicking in tomorrow. So this poem is called Forecast. A distant sunbeam sparks a song for somber birds. Days pass, clouds drift, salutations of hail, mingling thunder. Drizzle waves churn cool, converging half bubbles sail, trickling down, slabbed stone stairs. Thirst fashions beads splashing over concrete. Flood words flow. Dawaya Shkunama. Thank you everybody for listening.
Thank you, Max, for that beautiful reading. I admire that you wrote a poem about missing a birthday party and about your pottery. So I'm actually wearing the jewelry piece that you gave me. This is pottery jewelry that Max gave me. So I'm very honored to wear that. First of all, I'm going to introduce myself in the Navajo language. Laura Tohi Dashijin, Tsena Hapikinch, Twitachitni Bashishchin, Navajo Nation Poet Laureate, Nishna. So hello, everyone, and thank you so much for coming out. I see some people that I know and some names that I recognize. So I'm glad to have you here. I'm going to start out, first of all, just talking a little bit about my work as the Navajo Nation Poet Laureate. I was given this title as our people, my community, values stories and songs and prayers and oratory. And the Navajo Nation Poet Laureate is the only Native nation that has this title. I'm the second Poet Laureate. Lucy Tapahanso was the inaugural Poet Laureate. And I'm very honored to have this title because we value stories and we value this passing on of our stories and our language, our history, and things that make us whole and unique as a Native people. As part of my duties as a Poet Laureate is to act as a somewhat of an ambassador to the community at large. And so I've done a lot of poetry readings in the US, and also I'm a librettist, so I've done some, written some oratorios that have been performed in Europe. I grew up without knowing what poetry was. I grew up in this little community called Crystal, New Mexico, and it's on the Navajo Nation homeland. And I didn't really come to write my first poem until I was in college. At that time, very, very few Native people were publishing their work. They may have been writing, but maybe they weren't publishing their work. So I was influenced by some of the early poets that came to the University of New Mexico, where I was a student. Poets like Simon Ortiz and Joy Harjo, who was a student there and a friend. So these were the voices that I had heard in college, and they influenced my work as a poet. But even beyond that, I was influenced by the stories that my family told me as we traveled in the car sometimes from home to go to the nearest town, which was about an hour and a half away, or just anytime we were in a car together, my mother would tell us stories. And I think this is kind of like a collaboration for me with myself and my family, because they were always telling stories. And also the stories that my grandmother, my paternal grandmother told, influenced me to write about things like the rain and water. So I'm going to read a poem about that in a little while. So I'm very thankful that I was surrounded by storytellers, even though I didn't know that Native peoples could be writers. I mean, I wanted to be a writer when I was very young, but I didn't know how one went about doing that. So I'm going to start out, first of all, a piece from this oratorio. Oh, actually, it's the libretto that I wrote called Nahassan in the Glittering World. Nahassan means Mother Earth in the Navajo language. And this is an excerpt from the libretto that I wrote that was performed in France last year and 2019. The oratorio focuses on what's happening to the earth in this time of global warming and climate change. So this is called excerpt from Nahassan in the Glittering World. The glittering world is the present world that Navajos call it. Then the world cracked again when the people forgot the paths because the monsters had eaten the maps, scattered the bones, and left the people marooned. Their nation needed songs to reshape the world from the east to the south, to the west, to the north. Do our stories say we love the earth as we loved ourselves? In another world, if there's another one, will there be enough to build another ladder? To climb away from another destruction? What we do to the earth, we do to ourselves. In healing ourselves, we heal the earth. What songs will we create in our songboats? What stories will we weave about the glittering world on the loom of time? What stories will we tell our grandchildren? The collaborator on this oratorio is Thierry Picou, and he's a French composer. He did this beautiful composition on land and using the work that I did. And there were also dancers, and in the first production, there were live animals that were part of the performance, not to do circus-like acts, but they danced with the two young dancers that were part of the performance. And it was a beautiful event. I felt strongly that the animals, because they were part of this performance, I wanted to make sure that we were not exploiting them or harming their spirits in any way. So I had my clan brother, who is a medicine man, Rexley Jim, offer a prayer to the animals so that the performance would go forth in a good way. And it did. This is called My Body Holds Stones, which I wrote before the discovery of the children's bodies at the residential school in Canada. My body holds stones of tragic Indian warriors descending into sunset at trail's end. My body holds stones of Indian women surrounded by wolves, roaring at their feet, X's on their eyes, while sand spoons itself freely over lost earrings. My body holds a monument to large smallpox blankets, a granite stone leaning near the road. Prairies wail the color of yellow winds. My body holds stones and words ground into cement steps inside my childhood government self. Sounds washed away with buckets of bitter soap seep into the cracks of sidewalks at midnight. Children march over them. My hands hold the licks of a wooden snake now hissing on his back, his shame, his head bowed to the beast. I remember, but he doesn't. My body holds stones. I stood in the corner and looked into the fractures between two worlds. Naashja sailed over the skyline. A fat coyote ran across my path. I looked for myself on both sides, counted myself among those still surviving. My body holds stones, too many to count. My body holds stones I cannot pass. Several years ago, when my son was still about 10 years old, we went to Washington, D.C., and we visited the Vietnam Memorial. So I wrote this poem about that time. And even though this poem was written years ago, it still resonates with what's happening here in our country with the recent shootings in Texas and in other places. One name is too many. This is a quote by Simon Ortiz. We were a major and vital part of US history, but were we a part of the history of something atrocious like that? I Google massacre and Sand Creek doesn't pop up. The Long Walk doesn't pop up. Instead, Google says the deadliest massacres in America began in 1973. Facts, dates, and faces of the victims, how long they lasted in the hospital, how their parents' love couldn't hold them. Sand Creek, 1864. Grief, like a syringe, enters the nerves and leaves its trace in weeks, months, and years. Like a tingling in the hands and heart that never heals. Sandy Hook. On the 150th year anniversary of Sand Creek, the pages of American history remain blank, empty. A genocide almost wiped out Turtle Island, I say, to young faces who hold the book of blank pages. Columbine. A daughter pregnant with child bleeds in the sagebrush. Red stripes of the American flag flutters high on destiny. Humpty Dumpty enters the school wearing a black mask and carries a duffel bag. And all the king's horses and all the king's people couldn't put the world together again. The Long Walk, 1864. Bam, bang, a good Indian is a dead Indian. This country built on blood and guns and gore. Black Kettle knew that before he became a grotesque statue. Who cares for Indians and children anyway? Aurora, Colorado. Colonel Chivington steps out from the theater screen. He screams, "Die with a hard vengeance. Granny, get your gun." The freight trains headed west, the ships headed Middle East. Once my son and I stood at the Vietnam Memorial. The names of the fallen lined up next to each other. He asks why the names are there. I explain, even one name is too many, he said. The danger that follows him. You walk home from school with your friends, making Friday night plans. Who has the latest heavy metal CDs? Cute girls in history class, living the life of a 15-year-old boy. At that moment between talk of girls and Nirvana, a car speeds past filled with angry voices seeking its prey. The challenge thrown from the windows enticing its victims. you too have come to know the power of words, the power of gestures. You are on the street, busy with cars, thinking you are invincible in your invisible armor. The beast turns around and searches for your young life. Two guys wielding baseball bats spring out of their car. From what world did they come? What makes them hungry for the sound of crushing bones, grunts breaking from your yet unkissed lips, blood spilling into the cracks of the sidewalk? What makes them seek to undo young lives? The swing of the bat that would crack your skull that I once protected so carefully. Fingers that once curled around mine, now useless against the onslaught of a senseless beating. What makes me think you can be safe walking home, seeking safety in the backyard of a frightened, lonely woman, and thinks you are a thief? So she rushes to dial 911 and swears to the police that you dropped a tool to break in with when it was only your backpack filled with books and gym shoes. The police believe the words of the frightened woman who believes the stories in the papers and television, and not the voices of the young, not the voices of the innocent, and not you, my son, but the voices that create the danger. This is the world that has been let loose while I was home, sprinkling Fritos on your favorite meal, unaware of the danger that follows you. So I'm going to shift gears here a little bit. And I've written some poems about growing up with my paternal grandmother who raised me during part of the summer. She was a weaver, and she was a very patient, gentle woman. And I'm thankful that I was raised by women like her, my aunt, and my other grandmother too. And during the summer when I was growing up, my cousin and myself used to help her prepare her weaving. So she had us clean the wool from the sheep. So we'd card that and then clean out all the sticks and whatever debris that was in it and set it aside for her so she could use it to spin and then weave with it. Moth madness. Moths circle the kerosene lamp on the floor that sheds a dim light on our night work. My cousin and I keep carding the woolly clumps, twigs and dirt that clung to the sheep from their wanderings among sagebrush and thistle dropped into our laps. We card and card to transform them into layers of soft clouds for Nulla's spindle. Each ahi, says Nulla, almost in a whisper, like she was afraid to stir the name, like the name might release something formed from night. Each ahi, the word flutters in the shadows and cautions against all that is unbalanced in the glittering world, the reckless, the violators, the amoral, evil floating all around, that must be righted with songs and prayers. Bahatsit, she exclaims, no longer whispering harsh cautions against a suicidal jump into the fire. I would learn what it means to yearn for the fire burning in a stranger, the Kudafudra, that matched my own moth madness. Nulla's spindle tilted like the earth's axis, that she spins against her thigh. Clouds of wool transform again into strands of color for her loom that becomes her world. She calls the earth and sky. She calls stories of female mountains. She calls stories of male mountains to her. Geometric designs to balance the world against the moth madness. It seems like one of the things I learned from my elders was that things can always easily go out of balance, you know, in the things that we do or say or create. And we have to be careful of that and guard against that. And it's for those reasons sometimes ceremonies were used to help right the world. This is called mud cracks. During the summer, when it rained in the summer, the monsoon clouds that would come and bring rain, and this is what Max was talking about. The earth would, this water would meet the earth, and it would create these mud cracks, which is what they're called. And so I used to walk through them and on them when I was growing up. And this is a poem about that. Mud cracks. Late summer rains poured from female clouds that left chocolate puddles and ponds upon the thirsty earth and curls of delicate dried mud. Like a jigsaw puzzle that crumbled in our hands whenever we tried to move a piece, no matter how carefully we lifted them, like they were only meant for admiration, not meant to be disturbed, not meant to be touched by hand or foot. Okay, so I think I only have a few minutes here, so I'm going to read a short persona poem called Blue Impala. That time I stole a blue Impala in Flagstaff. The first year they made those automatic windows, you know, I was 16 and I was cruising down the highway on the trail to Albuquerque. I was hungry and I was howling, man. It was like stealing the best horse in the herd. This one is called, I was influenced a lot by Pablo Neruda. I loved his work. And this actually, I borrowed the title for my poem called Love is So Short, Forgetting is So Long. I go through the motions of the day, feeling my way through breakfast and the endless sky. Another day and you've left with the sad winds. The moon grows and wanes and I love you still. Today I heard a man on the radio whose voice was like yours. I listened carefully for the sound that was you whispering, calling me woman, oh woman, as you slid a little tighter into me. I go through the day remembering when you took me in, a sad and lonely soul, how the whole of your love kissed my hands and filled my sky with joy. And this one is called For Catherine. I wrote this shortly before the pandemic. So I'm going to read, this will be the last poem, and then I think there's maybe some comments or Q&A afterwards. This is also published on the American poetry site, the Dear Poet site, and I received emails from students across the country, across the US, commenting on this poem because they too had lost a grandmother or a friend or someone that they loved. And I was happy to receive these letters, but also sad that, that we all lost loved ones during the pandemic, and we are still losing our loved ones. So this is a poem called For Catherine. And I think that I don't really think I wrote this poem. I think the hummingbird that came to visit me every day right outside the window where I do my writing came every day and fluttered there. And I wrote this poem very quickly, so I really think it's the hummingbird that wrote this. A hummingbird hovers above the branches outside the window. Soon the earth will rise again, waking from earth's sleep. Green leaves begin to emerge. Tiny purple flowers bloom like tiny notes of music. Chashanet. And so it is. We called you loved one. We called you daughter, sister, wife, mother, grandmother. We called you friend, teacher. After we have feasted in your honor, remembered you in tender ways, told stories of you, and the rain has washed away our tears, we will give you back to the other side. We will release you. We will sing you back to your relatives, sing you back to the places where you once walked, and return you to the stars. Chashanet, and so it is. You will return to us in the changing season of a hummingbird hovering above a branch, in the season of green leaves emerging, in the notes of tiny purple flowers singing in the rain. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Laura. It was a pleasure to hear you read. Max, you as well. These were beautiful, beautiful poems. Thanks to you so much for being here. As noted, excuse me, we do have a little time for questions. A few of them are starting to trickle in. Before I read a few of those, it would be great to just see if, just to remind you that your questions are welcome here. I'm going to put Laura and Max side by side in case your questions pertain to both, one or the other, as we go through some of these. Thanks again to everyone for being here. Thanks to Laura and Max. And the first of these questions are a lot of comments saying, for instance, it was a pleasure listening to you read your beautiful poetry. We've gotten a lot of those for both of you. The first question from Gail, lovely. When you read your own poetry, do you ever want to make any changes hearing them aloud, or can you let it go with a smile? That's for both of you, I guess.
I could say usually I'll proofread my poems or go through several revisions. So it'll happen during the process of the poem itself where you'll show a word that I stumble on and then I'll change that word. So it varies, but once a poem is complete, it stands on its own.
Like Max, I always read my poems aloud just to hear the sound of the words and to hear if these words go together. Sometimes the words don't, so I have to revise it. But I do sometimes actually do revise it as I'm reading it to a live audience. And I did that to one of the poems without realizing it. So yeah, sometimes I do have, once a poem has been published, and sometimes I will revise it a little bit, not a lot, but just because I think it needs that adjustment. So yeah, so I think I'm always revising. Even the poems that have been published, I see when I read it again, I think, wow, I wish I could change it and publish it like this instead. So, but I guess you can't always do that. So like you say, you just have to let it go with a smile.
Yeah. Laura, while while others are maybe composing their poems, and we have a few minutes. So we will encourage that. If you think of poems, don't be shy, send them through in the chat. But it gives me an opportunity to ask you what your work as the Poet Laureate of the Navajo Nation will also entail. Because I know the Poet Laureate of the United States will do some public programs in addition to continuing with their work and doing readings and outreach to schools and all kinds of other things. What sort of work has it involved, and what sort of work will you be looking ahead to?
I think it's kind of similar to the U.S. Poet Laureate, but probably on a smaller scale. One of the projects that I worked on was funded through the American Poetry Fellowship for Laureates, and I created a poetry program called Poetry from Four Directions to several schools on the Navajo Nation, and invited some poets to give writing workshops to the students. Unfortunately, because we were in the midst of the pandemic, and some of the students had lost family members, it was kind of hard for the program to get a good standing. But we did get students to attend and take the workshops, and then we had a poetry writing contest, and the winners, some of them wrote their poems in the Navajo language, which was wonderful, and then they wrote some in English, and they were beautiful poems. I had them published on the local tribal newspaper, the Navajo Times, and then we gave out cash awards to all the winners, and all of them were congratulated for their work. And then we also had a professional development day for the teachers on the Navajo Nation. Again, now some Navajo poets were part of this. They talked about their work, because one of the things that I want to do as a poet laureate is to make aware that in the schools, and especially the teachers who are teaching the Navajo youth, that we have many, many poets from our nation. We probably have the largest number of poets from the Navajo Nation. And unfortunately, many of us are not known. So I wanted to have this program so that the teachers would be aware of who the poets are. And then shortly after that, a book called The Diné Reader came out. Not that I was the one that instigated this, but this Navajo Reader has all the Navajo poets in there. So I feel like a lot of my responsibility as a poet laureate is to develop programs for the community, particularly for students. And so I was able to do that. And so I've been also doing poetry readings. This is one of them. This is part of my poet laureate work, and publishing. So yeah, so I keep busy, very busy, yeah.
Well, jumping off from that, but also opening it up to both of you, are there any poets you really want to call out to our audience?
Yeah, I think I recognize some names. I think Jake Skeets was in the audience. He's a Navajo poet and has won some wonderful awards. And there's another, let's see here. I can't find her name right now, but yeah. And Joe Bunker, are you a poet? I think I know you. I think we know each other. And Denise Bergman, I saw her earlier. She's also one of the poets in attendance.
Mm-hmm. Max, any poets, Indigenous or otherwise, whose work you really think should be better known?
Yes, I'm actually looking forward to, it's in my post office box right now, is Jennifer Forster's new book. think it's through the Songbird, and I'm gonna read that tonight. Also, just my mentors that I had at IIA, Sherman Bitsui and Santi Frazier, plus Jennifer Forster. Those three really helped me to bring out more imagery and surrealism in my work. And it was, I wish it was a 3-year program instead of a 2-year program, because I really benefited from the poetics they taught there.
Well, that's beautiful. I know everyone was blown away by your readings tonight. Just judging by the claps and the shout outs in the chat. I echo their praise. It was really beautiful to listen to you both. And from those of us at Brooklyn Public Library, it's just such a pleasure to have you. To those in the audience, thank you again so much for being here. To keep in touch with us, you can follow us on social media. You'll see the handles just above these last few comments in the chat. And there they are again down below. Max Early, Lorto, we will look for your next projects. Is there anything you want to say about what's coming up for each of you next in terms of your own writing and work?
Well, I've been invited to Belgium in November to do some poetry readings there with Sherwin Bitsui, and I think maybe 1 or 2 other Navajo poets. I think Esther Berlin is going to be there as well. That's my next big event coming up.
Oh, nice. Yeah, next month, I'm working in conjunction with the School of Advanced Research. There's a book coming out, and I have 2 poems published in the book. It's in celebration of the 100th year anniversary of the Pueblo pottery collection that they house there. So on July 30th, around that time frame, there'll be also a New Mexico PBS special on the potters and the writers and the poems that contributed to their collection, and it'll be housed at the Museum of Indian Arts and Culture. So that's the next event I'm going to, and then getting ready for Santa Fe Indie Market in August, which is only like 70 days away.
Terrific. Well, once again, thank you both. Thanks to our audience, Laura Toei, Max Early. Such a pleasure to have you both. Have a great evening and good night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for coming and for your comments.
Yes, thank you, everyone.